All right. Welcome, coming to you from Level 9 Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are the professors. We ain't crazy. We're licensed.
Hey.
I'm Dr. Mark Prana. With me, Casey Casillas-Nichols, HBIC.
Yes.
And Shamika Green, the Tesla Queen.
Hey.
Indeed. Speaking of that, just recently, that Tesla that you were rolling in, I was like, man, I really need to get me an electric car. And I found one that, like, it's it. Remember we were talking about it? I found it. Yeah. You know what it is?
What?
So, Volkswagen is bringing back their Volkswagen bus, the old school California one.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an electric car.
Really?
Yeah, the shit looks so hard. So
You got to do it.
I'm going, yeah, it's
You
done.
got to do it.
It's done.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Nice.
Shamika's little Tessie was looking nice that day.
Yeah.
Nice. Have
Super
a need
nice.
for speed.
So how you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
I'm surprised I'm in here today because I went ham, or it's been one of those days. So I'm going to be drinking heavily,
Okay.
talking shit heavily.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys enjoy it and join me.
Oh, absolutely. That's why we're here, right?
What's
yeah.
the topic today? Tell us.
So the topic today is respect in the workplace. Say my name.
Say my name. Say my name. Mark is Beyonce.
You are the Beyonce.
You
I
are the
am
Beyonce.
the Beyonce.
You are the Beyonce of the crew.
I don't know, but the way Shamika was barking out orders, I think she might be the queen bee.
Oh, shit. Bitch, get that door. Oh,
Close the door.
Bitch.
So where did this topic come from? Was this
So this topic actually it's kind of a combination of things we got from some of the listeners that had sent in some topics, and it's stems from a workplace bias topic that was requested and just navigating the workplace in general. And I think this is something relatable to all of us. You know,
big old facts as fuck?
yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get in, we should probably give some shout outs to people,
Okay.
most namely our producer, Scott.
What up, Scott?
What's up,
though?
Scott?
Scott makes us look good, sound good,
Yeah.
feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Makes us sound like ballers.
Yeah. He's the Diddy of this production.
For sure. Scott, let me know if you need me to go walk across the Brooklyn Bridge to get you some junior cheesecake
Right.
or some
Take that.
Cambodian breast milk. Sorry.
She will even bring the Cambodian.
That's the Dave Chappelle version.
I know.
Okay.
All right. So, who wants to start?
Respect in the workplace.
So,
Respect.
I mean, I'll go. I'll
okay,
go first.
go ahead.
Okay.
So, I want to say, it depends. Like where, it's just a weird dynamic of respect in a workplace, no matter what the workplace is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's a, I don't care what anybody says, there's an unsaid, what is that? Hierarchy that nobody talks about.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I've never been one to like kind of stay where people wanted me to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to just do my own thing. And then that's gotten me in trouble plenty of times.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
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 Go ahead.
I was going to say that, I can see that would be an advantage at times and a disadvantage at other times, but you've got to pave your own path, because if you stay in the hierarchy, it's going to work against you.
Yeah.
You're going to play that role and people are going to make sure you keep playing that same role.
I'm sure that's happened. Have you guys been in a role where you can tell that somebody tried to keep you there and not allowed you to?
Oh, yeah.
To grow?
Yeah. And was it disrespectful?
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing. How do you define respect in the workplace?
Well, let's go over that.
Where do we start?
What do you think?
How do you define work in the
Respect in the workplace.
respect in the workplace? Again, I think it's this thing of, like you said, like the hidden, unwritten rule of like who's the hierarchy of, who's who and what. But I feel like respect is a thing in and out of the workplace. And I think that who you are at the core shows up in your workplace.
100%.
Because, so just to go back, I remember working for an agency and there was a colleague and I work with, and this motherfucker was so annoying. You know what I mean? Like boundary wise, and would like pull my hair or touch my hair and stuff like that. Yeah.
The fuck?
And I remember being like, okay, like, I don't like that. Don't do that. And like taking it for so long, and then eventually was like, gave that person a look like, and then that was it. And I was like, you know what? Like,
that was the close the door look.
I know. Not the other look. Yeah, and not to close the door in the fun way. It was.
But I'm just saying, again, it's how you are, I feel like, at the core anyway. And that just shows up in the workplace. And so if you don't have respect for others outside of, where you work, that's just how it's going to show up. That's how I feel.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so, yeah.
I can co-sign that.
Yeah.
Because it really is. It's who you are as a character. Your character inside of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always looked at it, when I go to work, I have a job to do, and that's why I'm there.
Right.
Regardless how I feel about you, what your life is. To be honest, what your life is outside of work is of no consequence to me, because we are there to do a job. We are there to if we're in the helping field, help people. And the same way I wouldn't judge clients, or I don't judge my students or anything. It's the same thing with coworkers. What you do outside of work is on you. I'm not necessarily going to be a part of anything.
Right.
Don't invite me to any parties or anything like that. I don't really care.
Boo.
Well,
no orgies.
I mean, orgies are always the exception, But
I'll rescind my. Go ahead and send back to return to sender my invite, Mark.
But. Well, we've never worked together. But to be fair, it's a matter of we're there to get a job done, and I will treat you with the same respect I will treat others. It's I will look at you and value you as a person in the workplace and what we are doing, regardless of what my personal feelings may be, because that's I guess the way I was raised, the way I've grown up, where
that makes a difference.
Yeah, I don't like all the petty games people play where, like their life becomes intertwined with their job, where it's this hierarchy and this nitpicking and this, and they'll, like co-op together to try and, move people out and all that stuff.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cold world.
I think we all have, I've got some stories from that, but, it's a matter of just, for me, I will treat you with respect, and kind of like Casey said, we're cool till we're not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That shit hit hard when she said it, because it's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
Once I know we're not cool, we're not cool. I'll still do the job. I will still work with you and do the job.
Right.
But if you're crossing the street and we're off the clock, game on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I 100%. Just to hear you say that or re-mention it, it's because there's no other way that I can put it into words where it's just so accurate,
The shit was golden when you said it.
We're cool until we're not cool. Like today, I'm definitely not fucking cool. You know what I mean? And some people attempted to get froggy today with me, and I have to remember. Listen, I've grown a long way from San Bernardino, California, Casey. And I have to remind myself that I don't have to act like that or flash like that. But a motherfucker will take me there.
But it's there, though. I mean,
and that's what I'm saying. And it's like she just comes out like, bitch, who the fuck are you talking to? And then I have to take a step back like, Casey, you're the boss though. So you can't be doing that type of shit. Or you're the professor and you can't be doing that type of shit.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think this is for every hood professional, though, that, like you are very professional in what you do, but you do understand that is a part of you of like, you have to respect me.
Yeah.
Like, put some respect on my fucking name.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because in the workplace, you're going to work with some fuck boys. And they are that in and out of the workplace.
Define fuckboy.
Ooh. Do you need a definition of a fuckboy?
I just think it'd be funny to hear Shamika.
I want to hear Shamika say.
Yeah.
I just feel like fuckboy, it could be boy or girl.
Facts.
But anybody that's just on some bullshit. You know what I mean? And not genuine, you're not 100, and you seek to see people not really do well, kind of rock the boat, like a fuckboy in every way. You know, at the core of who you are, you ain't shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean,
no, for sure.
Facts.
Okay.
I want to say that just hearing you say that just reminded me of when I would run a federal probation group.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking, I mean, like biker gang cats, bank robber, like, you know, some
the cream of the crop.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, my favorite type of client. And the way that they would come in, I think that particular group is where I learned to like stick my foot in the sand of, no, bitch, you got me fucked up. You know what I mean? I can remember a couple of them, like one in particular who was, I think, a Mongol in part of the biker gang. And we had a fire alarm, you know, whatever. We had to go outside. And he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, you're Casey, right? Yeah. I'm going to need you to go ahead and do this assessment and go ahead and call my probation officer and just get it taken care of." And I literally turned around like, and then I flashed in the parking lot. I said, "Motherfucker, you don't know me. And I don't know you, and you got the wrong bitch."
Yeah.
And I verbatim said that. He just
But see, that's like, what I love.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh shit. Okay." And so comes in the next day.
Mm-hmm.
La la la. Oh,
Yeah.
hi. Oh, hey. Nope. My name is Casey. You can address me as Casey.
Right.
Not your homegirl, not hey you, not put some respect on my motherfucking name.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
But that balance is beautiful though.
Yeah.
Because as you say, you know that you are different from the San Bernardino Casey, but it's still there, right?
No, and that's the thing though. Sometimes she has to just run the show.
Yeah.
She gotta come out.
I mean, she comes out all the time.
Well,
but
it's an important part of who we are. And even if you weren't raised in like, you know, a bad area or something where you had to be tough, if you didn't learn some of these things along the way, you know, you lack a certain amount of development, you know, because Jordan Peterson talks about being dangerous as an important part of survival. You don't have to hurt people, but you have to have the capability of being dangerous. And the balance of emotional regulation is very important in that. But if you don't have the capability, you're weak, and the weak don't survive. And that's important because I think all of us in different ways have grown up and we've learned along the way that at times we have to lean into that side of ourselves. Probably one of my favorite shows is Breaking Bad. Have you guys ever watched that?
I don't know. What is that show?
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, some of the therapists I know get all bent sideways. They're like, "Oh, it's about mess."
So real fast, I met old boy Gus at the last Star Wars convention.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not what I expected.
Right.
And not like just very cold, just very blah. Not one of my favorites. But still, respect on his name.
Yeah.
Continuously.
But there's that scene I think it's in the first part of the last season where after Gus has been killed and Walter White's character is in the desert trying to find new distributors for the meth and everything. And, you know, he has them out there and they're like, he's demanding respect and he uses a street name Heisenberg. And he's like, "You know who I am." And he makes them say, you know, and he's like, "You're goddamn right." And from that point in, he leans in to being the bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, and he becomes the danger, you know. And I think that's important for all of us because we have to have that part of us that stands up when these things come in because people are going to test you. And I think we've talked about that previously. People are going to test you.
Absolutely.
And if you roll over because you can't lean into that part of you, you're not going to get through. You're not going to survive. you're going to be stuck in some of these cycles until you learn to tap into that part of you. Human nature, we are dangerous, you know? And I think in just about every industry I've been in, you know, I've experienced and watched some of these things go down. And I know for me, like, sometimes how you lean into it really says a lot. You know, I mean, I could tell stories for days on this, but I remember like working in the casino, and this one guy had just decided he didn't like me, and then, you know, I didn't really care. But he was friends with our director, and, you know, I knew what he was doing because some of the people on the shift that I did know were like, listen, he's trying to get you fired. I'm like, so
that sucks.
Well, he got a quick lesson in it though, because I work graveyard. And so sometimes, you know, I'd go in at like 2 a.m. And like one day it was just the wrong day, you know, and he was talking to other people, looking the other way. I'm standing behind him listening as he's passing on information. And I remember he turns around and he goes, "Are you listening to me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fucking listening to you."
Bitch.
You know, but because I said the F word, he made a big deal about it, that I was aggressive and all this stuff. And
That passive aggressive
that shit
so
is the
fuck boy.
Yeah. Right there.
Yeah,
Right there.
because and I knew what he was doing. It was just normally I was able to keep my composure prior to that, but I was just tired. So
Yeah.
But what sucks is that for whatever reason, when people use curse words, it's all of a sudden aggressive.
Right.
That's bullshit.
Well, the best part of the story, though, is after they did an investigation, the director and everything, the director, who I knew was just weak as it was, called me into the office.
Flunky.
And, you know, brought in, you know, my manager was with me and everything, you know, and she was trying to prepare me. And I'm like, I got this. Don't worry. So sat down, I let him go through a spiel, you know, and he's telling me, well, you know, we talked to the other person involved. We talked to everyone else that was in the room, you know, and yeah, you said what you said. And, you know, it was aggressive, it was inappropriate, and it creates a hostile work environment. We're going to write you up, and, you know, this is going to be your final written warning and all this. And as he's handing me the paper to sign it, I go, so hold up a second. Just 1 second. Slow this down. You talked to the person who initiated the incident. You talked to everyone else in the room. You talked to the old man that was in the room that can't see or hear. But at no point in the last week did you come to me, the other person involved in this. And now I'm getting written up, and I'm assuming he wasn't. So there's 2 ways we go about this. This write-up gets tossed because this seems a little discriminatory against me, and maybe it's because I'm a Hispanic. Maybe it's because I'm other things. I don't know, but I can't risk that because you're going to fire me.
Right.
Yeah.
And at that point, I watched my director's face go flush white. And he's like, because he had no answer, because I knew he fucked up, and he did. Sends me out of the room. My manager comes back in. She goes, well, you're not getting written up.
Wow. Where's your coworker now?
He got fired.
Look at the camera.
Yeah. Gone, bitch.
Fuck boy.
Yep. I want you to say that the rest of the time, because you know these stories are going to be fucking out of control.
I know. And I think everybody probably works with somebody at one point that wanted to be a manager and they wasn't. You know what I mean? Or like backstabbing or all that kind of shit.
Me and somebody at my job sing that song, that old Backstabbers.
Oh,
yeah, it came us super old. But what you got a story like that?
Let me see. I like a backstabber.
I mean, there's always backstabbers, but like,
no, I
ooh.
I just was like, wait, that bitch.
See, yeah, I was like, let me get the door.
First, I was like, no,
Shamika.
and I was like, no. I think that I talked about this before of like frenemies, and there are frenemies in the workplace, and I remember going back to the same agency where this other person was. There was another friend of me there. You know, those people that kiss up to the boss and,
Right.
oh, yeah, yes, sir, master, and all that stuff. But then,
Shamika Green said that.
put some
Cannot cancel
respect
me.
on my name. You can't, because I work for myself.
I
Bitch.
know that's right.
But as soon as they turned their back, they were doing a whole bunch of shit, you know, and then but throw other people under the bus.
Oh,
that don't sit well with me at all. Like
No.
if you do some shit, you own it, but don't throw other people under the bus. That gets right all up in here. And then if I see it, bitch, I don't trust you. Because
Yeah.
if you did it to this person, you would do it to me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I've seen that happen in a place, and I've been like, bitch, you what? You know, like
Yeah.
So
I think I've always been the coworker that doesn't see it coming from people because I'm always
Mhm.
like, hey,
Yeah.
what up, Shamika? What's
you're
up,
so
Mark?
dope. So
yeah,
chill.
and just like, and then, and then all of a sudden I'm in HR's office on some shit like,
they
the
pimp
fuck?
slap you.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Going in to tell that joke that you told in the lunchroom.
But that's the
By
thing.
the
But
water
I
cooler.
don't. But that's the part that gets me fucked up is that the way that I talk. I actually had a client say some shit to me last week, and I sat there and was like, I said, I don't know what I said. I said, listen, this shit doesn't make sense. Like, make it make sense, man. Let me help you. He's like, you see, you got to use that language. I wasn't cussing at you. I was like, I wasn't cussing at you. At you.
Mhm.
That's just how I talk. And then I have to go into the 1,000 pardons, sir. You know what? I apologize. And then I had to go into this box that's not me, you know?
Yeah.
But that's where the building rapport with clients is so important because
Absolutely.
But because I be talking like that all the time with clients
Right.
I have rapport with,
Right.
whom I had rapport with this person. But then all of a sudden it was big bad wolves coming through and oh God.
Right. Well, it sounds to me like that just gave the person an opportunity to derail whatever was going on because by flipping it back on you, they didn't have to deal with their own stuff, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean,
True.
It's,
But then also
whatever.
understanding that as therapists, we're not everybody's therapist, and
True.
every client is not our client, you
True.
know?
yeah.
And that took a long time to understand in this business too, you know, when people
Mhm.
come to you of like, yeah, sure, you know, no, I'm not everybody's therapist. I'm for a select group. And then,
That part.
I mean, you
That
know,
part.
who get
yes.
it
Yes.
and want that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Some people like grow and like foster and nurture in that space because that's what they grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
So they either see you as like an auntie, a mom, a sister,
Right.
whatever the case may be. But some people, I mean, I have been told that, or I shouldn't, I've been told by HR, not a motherfucker's never going to say shit to my face. And this, whatever I take, like it's already popping. So I know the last podcast I said, if it gets spicy, your girl's here now.
It was a good day.
It, it was.
In case it didn't have to use her AK.
Right.
Mom's made the
Real
breakfast,
talk.
the whole thing. I forgot what I was going to say, so go ahead.
But this shit was so raw though. It's so authentic. I mean, and I think you were talking about before of like just how your week had been or even your day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've all, well, I had a fucked up week. Even though I'm
Yeah.
drinking water today,
Right.
I should be drinking Hennessy because it was that kind of
shit.
week. Hen
Touche.
dog.
Bring the Henny.
Anything's possible.
Henny saves the world. Good old Henny.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. But on the opposite side, I'm glad we brought this topic because I want to go to the opposite side of it, of not just like disrespect,
Right.
but like actual respect.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will say when I was I think when I started doing supervision with you both of you and Roberta, I moved to the company that I'm with now. And I remember telling Roberta, like,
I was never in Roberta's supervision.
I don't know where I saw you then.
Oh, I came in one time
Okay.
for a
See,
guest speaker.
This
Okay.
dude-
What about the people that don't know who Roberta is?
Okay, go ahead. So Roberta, everybody, maybe I'm not the right person to say this because of
Well, so, I mean, Roberta is kind of the key to all of us really getting together to do this, if
Facts.
you think about
Roberta
it.
Miranda.
Roberta Miranda. And, for me, she was my professor when I was in my grad program, and I kept in touch with her after I completed. And, in a lot of ways, she's been a mentor to me. When I was thinking about jumping into private practice, I had a conversation with her before doing so, because I was actually not too dissimilar to what we're talking about, in a situation where I was dealing with one of these people that was trying to sabotage everything. And so she's also the one that got me into teaching, and, I'm assuming both of you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is, she's kind of the center point where all of this connects in.
I would say she was the center point of all of us, like getting introduced to each other.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why I said, okay, what's her name?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a respect on her name.
Yeah,
for the sake of
absolutely.
this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, if it wasn't for her, I don't think all three of us connect at this point. Although our paths had crossed at different points, prior to that, because when you were at the company doing drug and alcohol treatment, one of your coworkers, who was a Raiders fan, was in my cohort.
Hi, Raiders fan.
And so a few times we went down there, and I know you were there at least one of the times we were there.
That was the reentry area where his desk and stuff at. That's where all, like, to me, the cool kids. If you're working with anybody in reentry, criminal justice, you come holler at us at the second floor.
I'm also the one that redecorated his office that said "Go Broncos" and everything.
Whack.
Wow.
Whack. So, okay, continue.
That's all.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to the other story.
Yeah.
To the other story. So I remember telling Roberta that I left that agency because I don't feel that my voice was anything. I didn't have one.
Okay.
And I go to this new agency who doesn't know me from fucking anybody, Adam. And they just allowed me to be me.
Yeah.
And they allowed me to try things that most people wouldn't let me try.
Mm-hmm.
And it affected positively affected clients, staff in a whole different way. And I know I can sit here and say, I know that's why I was able to even pass my tests for the licenses,
Right.
because they didn't put that pressure on me of, yo, you need to get this shit. And just, I don't know, almost like fear tactics.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't respond to that shit. And I feel like that goes with respect in the workplace, like if you know somebody's about to do something, you're not going to put all this extra shit on them
Right.
and, kind of psych them out. I think that's bullshit. And that tends to happen quite a bit. And I'm not a fan of that shit. And I call it out. But over here, it was, you do it or you're not. And then I didn't tell you guys, I don't think.
No, you did.
No.
No.
And I
Let's
just
be
went,
clear.
yeah. and then I did. So and to this day, I've been with them. It's coming up on 6 years.
Wow.
Anytime I have an idea, I'm heard and we get to try
Right.
it. I mean, unless it's something outlandish or I didn't see like, oh, that's not going to work out. But I've never been so respected by my superiors ever at a job. I had another supervisor that was like that, but I was very, very young. And I think I just needed to learn certain things. But I've been very fortunate to have very strong supervisors or just people in higher places that were able to mold me into who I am today.
Yeah.
And my other supervisor, he had a very strong personality and a lot of people did not like him. But he was so amazing. Like he taught me, if you ever go into a meeting, you better bring a notepad and write notes. Like you need to look like you're paying, you pay attention. You gotta, and that opened the door even for like grad school and just like little things like that. It will never leave me. But he took a chance on like a 19-year-old kid that was just,
wow.
yeah. And so that's cool. But I wanted to talk about that too, of like
The respect
part, because that's the kind of energy that I am actively doing with students and staff because I want to pay it forward.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What a safe space though for you to have and to have that respect. So, you going back to that, it makes me think about going back to the agency, but I had a supervisor when I was a practicum student. And rest in peace to him, but his name was Dr. Ron Shaver. And he was like a badass in the therapy field. And Dr. Ron Shaver and Jesse Smith, I'm not sure if you guys know him, but he's a black male therapist. And he's from Detroit. Yeah, so
he sounds familiar.
He just so happened to be my supervisor too. So a lot of respect there. Yeah. But I just remember Dr. Ron Shaver when I had an issue as a practicum student. I feel like I'm always like a voice. So when stuff doesn't sit right with me, I'm going to say something, you know, because it doesn't sit right. And I remember bringing it to Dr. Shaver, and he was like, no, like what you feel is right. And I'm going to go to the person of the company, and this is that. You know, like he really heard me, but he had my back. You know what I mean? And that was so much respect because it just didn't sit right with me. And I'm like, I can't be somewhere and just kind of just, you know, be on mute. But he was so dope in being like, no, you're right. Absolutely. And so whoever doesn't like it, too bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. So much respect for him and what he taught me. And again, Jesse Smith too. He was another one, you know, but I've always somewhat had a voice. You know, sometimes my husband called me Malcolm Mimi. And it's because I'd be like, we are not going for this shit. Because when I get started,
guess who's got a new name on the website?
But that's so true.
Yeah.
Like, why even...
Yeah, like,
why even do
like
it?
No, I'm like
lean into it.
Ready to use my voice.
You do, but I mean, you do, and I think it's awesome, you know, because when you have somebody that props you up and gives you that voice and says, no, you know what you're saying is valid, your ideas are valid, they're worth a try. It helps to build that confidence, and you know, it's part of what makes it, I don't know, easier, but more manageable when you get out there and you start trying things on your own and doing things. Because you've had those people along the way saying, no, what you got to say is important.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. It's so, and that's us three. We're starting to get into those positions. I mean, I guess we already are, of teaching this next crop of students, therapists.
What's that face about?
Help workers. I
just thought about a student. But go ahead.
Okay. But, and we're able to instill what was instilled in us. And I think but that goes both ways, right? Because there's going to be supervisors that ain't on shit.
Right.
And are terrible people and money hungry and don't give two shits about anybody else. And then that continues to, have the cycle continue or whatever.
So I got a question for both of you. And this kind of comes from one of the people that requested we talk about this.
Okay.
And it's something that I really don't have perspective on, because how do you navigate a situation when the bias against you is you're a woman in the field that you're in?
Oh, Shamika, you go ahead and go first with this one.
So the thing is, what a great question. Shout out to that person.
Yeah.
But I think for me, again, two perspectives as a woman and then also a minority. Like that's a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? And I am so grateful, though, that I was born and raised in Detroit, because you've seen a lot of Black women in high positions. You know what I mean? Senators, councilwomen, all of that stuff. And so that really showed me that, the type of respect that we can have. But it wasn't until I came here that it was like fighting to have a voice, or to be respected. But I had those Detroit values in me of like, might not be many of me that are in here, but you are going to respect me and I'm going to be heard. If not, I will move on. But I am always fighting to have my voice heard.
Oof, I hear that.
I think you hit an important point. I think people forget that they have options. Because you said, I will move on.
Absolutely.
So you are aware you have options. And I think people forget that sometimes, if it's the work environment or whatever, or the situations that they're in, they just forget that they have choice.
Well, but it also depends on where you're at as far as like your maturity level, right? There's certain jobs that I took early on as a young Hispanic female that I just did it because in my culture, like you just don't stop doing something because you don't like it. You have to follow that shit through. And I put myself into situations where I was completely disrespected. And at some point it was just enough, you know, and I want to piggyback off what Shamika is saying, because I'm a Hispanic, Native American, female, but also the way that I look being sleeved up adds another tier of people assuming they know who the fuck I am, and they don't, you know. I think I had somebody like at Costco, and it was the one in Summerlin, and I was pushing the cart or whatever, and I was walking, I left my cart there and I walked by, and some lady saw me and she moved her purse closer to her.
Like, bitch.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. I said, nobody's trying to steal your little fake fucking Louis Vuitton purse. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And she's like, oh my God. And I was like, bitch, I probably have more education, more fucking common sense.
More money.
Yeah, like,
be clear.
And everything. But it sucks because, but then when you stick up for yourself, let's say when I stuck up for myself when I was a younger Hispanic female in the workplace, I just came off as like the wild kid. Yeah. But really, it was me standing up for myself.
Exercising your voice.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think a lot of minority women get the whole we're angry, we're all that. You know what I mean? Whatever negative shit they say about us. Yeah. But people don't understand, like, they don't get the looks. They don't get the little side talk. No. They don't get half that shit. And I'd be damned now that I'm a mom that I'm going to allow anybody to talk to me like that and have my daughters look at me like I'm a flunky, and I'm not raising them to be, nobody is going to disrespect them. And maybe they will, and that's going to be their learning lesson, which is fine. But those little girls, man, they are instilled of, you're going to talk to me appropriately, and you're going to put some respect on my name.
And giving them a voice, like you said. Because one thing that I've noted as well is that people oftentimes don't respect you until they know your titles.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yes. And so if you show up as Casey or Shamika or Mark or whoever, it's like, and you maybe even dressed a certain kind of way, it's like, okay. But once you start, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the owner of this, I'm head of that, people are all in your ass. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like kissing up. I see it all the time. But I respect people that respect me before you know who I am.
Speak on that shit, because 100%.
Yes. So a lot of times I don't even want to tell you too much. You know what I mean? Because I want to see how your character is before I even tell you who I am. Because I'm somebody before you even know that. You know?
Yeah.
But it's, a lot of times it's not until you start dropping and like, oh, what? Okay. Yeah. No.
That's like the therapist I had earlier this year, not the one you recommended, who is fucking amazing, by the way. Amazing. Changed my life. But one, I think I told you that I specifically told her I wasn't a therapist.
Yes.
Because I knew she was going to be on some fuck shit. I fucking knew it. And I saved it and I just kept going. And I thought to myself, like, fuck, is this how my clients get treated? By the way that they look, by the way that they sound,
absolutely,
by the way that they speak. And I think maybe my 4th session, she said something to me and I snapped, and I was like, listen, I'm a therapist too. And her whole fucking demeanor changed, like, this bitch. And it was not the same. And I don't know.
It is hard for therapists to find a good therapist. Because of that.
Yeah, but my point was just, you know, that it's heartbreaking to me to know that clients that I relate to, you know, that don't match the typical what therapists should be, get treated like that, because I'm just like everybody else. But
see, that's why it goes back to when we said that every therapist is not your therapist. You know what I mean? And that's why you do what you do. You know what I mean? So people can have that safe space and that respect. You know what I mean? And so because there are some out there that are not. And so again, if you had led with your title, it'd have been totally different.
100%.
But why should it be like that?
True. Yeah. But it shouldn't be like that, you know? And yeah, it's like when I have new clients come through the door, I treat them with respect regardless. I give them the same spiel, the same, everything is the same. And it's like, I want to get to know the person. I don't necessarily care like who they are, because I'm looking at the person, I'm looking beyond that, and I will treat them with respect. And with, other therapists, going to see other therapists, I know, because I've had some of the therapists that I've worked with have had the same experience, where as soon as their new therapist found out who they were, everything changed.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because, as human beings, we make snap judgments about people based on what we see. It's part of just the way, I guess, we survive. It's our survival instincts too. We have to put labels on some things, but the growth that, you had mentioned earlier and has been kind of talked about is in understanding that these snap judgments may be there, but we have to be open to meeting the person before we decide that this is who they are.
Yes.
And not a lot of people get to that second part. They get to that first part where they're like, oh, well, Shamika's black and this and this, and then they start defining her.
But that's the thing though too, is that you can just stop right there with Shamika's black, and then she already has 100 things behind that.
Yeah. Well, my name is Shamika. That's the first start.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you don't know I'm black as hell, I mean, like,
not black as hell, boy. Shamika's been having the best one-liners all fucking week.
She's been on fire.
And I'm off water with the line. No chaser.
She is on fire.
I wish, I'm going to play it for you when she hit me up with the, what up, cuz? I'm like, bro, she out here.
But that's how you know. That's how you know you done fucked up when she's like, what's up, cuz? Like,
yeah. What up, bro? What you doing? I'm like, oh. Shit. And I was going to respond back to her in a memo, and I couldn't do it because I'm like,
be in the voice notes.
Yeah. She be living for the voice notes. She'll be like, all
what's up, homegirl?
Yeah. It almost sounds like this, like, hey, Casey, ride with me right now. Ride with me. And it's like, okay. And then I close my eyes like, I'm there. Like she can hear me. I'm out there, man. What's in this glass?
Gang.
Yeah.
So, as we've been talking, it's pretty interesting to hear the different experiences we've had. I would say that, one of the things that may be kind of fun to finish off on is, identifying the best experience that you've had with respect, whether it's in the workplace or in general.
Okay.
And then the worst.
Ooh, shit.
Damn. Shit.
Okay, I got mine.
Okay, cool.
I got mine. Do you want to go first? Do you have yours?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I think I'm going to say the best one for the growth of my maturity. I'm going to go with that one because I have a ton of them.
Good.
Yeah, I have a ton of them for right now that my supervisors give me, and it's amazing. But the one that impacted me heavily as a young adult was I worked at the airport, and there was somebody in HR who really thought her shit didn't stink, and she barked orders at people. And you guys know I'm a person of the people. I don't like seeing people get disrespected, and I don't like people talking sideways. So this lady got called out every single time she came across me because I'm just not going to put up with it. She would throw shit on my desk. Like, I need this done. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck you're talking to. Like, goodbye. And she went right to my boss and cried about Casey's mean and Casey's blah, blah, blah. And I got called in to my boss's office, and my boss used to call me Spunky. I want you to imagine this is 19-year-old Casey.
Oh, shit.
Freshly moved from San Bernardino, from California. He's like, Spunk, what's going on? And I said, man, I will not put up with somebody that's not in my department, somebody that's not even my superior, to be talking sideways to my coworkers or to me. I won't do it. And she has me fucked up. Mm-hmm. And I usually didn't talk that way in front of that boss, but I was so upset. I said, she has me fucked up, and I'm not doing it. And he's like, okay. So then she ended up I went on maternity leave, and she ended up coming into our department.
Really?
Yeah. And she was like his assistant. So she was everybody's assistant director. So she technically would have been above me. And when I came back, my boss was like, you still report to me directly. Because I said, if you're my boss or not, I'm still going to call you out. And just for my boss to see that and to know, you know, Casey's not going to, I think he was really in it for my professional growth just as a person. And I will never, ever forget that. So that's the best one. Worst one. I was like a newly supervisor and I was trying, and I'd never been in a supervisor role. So I was trying my best to be, you know, pleasing everybody and just doing what the company needs, doing what you know, just overall my first time. So I felt very overwhelmed.
Okay.
And the person that was over me told me to implement this new process, which was like completely out of control and just not manageable for therapists. It just was not going to happen.
Right.
Implemented it. I got called every name under the book. That supervisor came back to me and said, I have a real problem with you not being able to get along with staff. They're upset with you implementing this process. I said, the process that you told me to implement? He goes, oh, I never said that.
Oh.
I said, you didn't sit right there in that chair and tell me that I had to do this and now I'm the bad guy? This motherfucker got up, smiled, and walked out my office. If you want to talk about some fucking snake shit, yeah. That was when I was like, wrote up my fucking resignation letter, no job, nowhere to go. And I was like, I am not. My mom did not raise me to get punked by some dude on some fuck shit. Like my mom would be so disappointed in me if I didn't speak up. And I just sat there and took it and I was so mad. But I thought, no, I'm going to be the adult and I'm going to be the professional and I'm going to keep my head up. And there's more to that story, but we can talk about another time where I did get my, the universe fixed itself. I'll say that.
Absolutely.
It usually does.
Absolutely.
You want to go?
Okay. I'll go. So I'll say most of my worst situations have always been my divine I want to say my divine growth because I can think of times where I would bring my programs to agencies and they would just sleep on it. You know what I mean? But one thing that really sticks out in my mind is when I was at an agency and I'm not sure if I told you guys the story, but I was at an agency and I was supervisor and it was my first time being in a supervisor role. So I was a basic skill worker at one point. Do you guys remember that? Yeah, it was a big thing at one point in a psychosocial.
BST,
yeah, PSR. Yeah, I was one of those, right? Like, ooh, you know what I mean? And I became supervisor. And so I was just so excited because it was literally my first time being a supervisor. And so the money was good, you know, like I was fresh and new. And my friend, she was the other supervisor there. Like, it was wonderful. And they were like, some changes were happening. And they were like, you know, you're going to be good, you know, nothing to worry about. And so I went on vacation. And I don't know if you know, when you go on vacation, you ball out. You know what I mean? Like, that's your time. And I came back on Monday and everybody was fucking silent. Like, nobody was making eye contact, even my friend.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I harbored that for a while. I just released that on her. But yeah, I remember nobody was making eye contact. And I'm like, something's not right. You know, and so I come back to her, what's going on? Like, the atmosphere is different. You know what I mean? And I don't know. And then they called me in the office and they're like, oh yeah, we were doing some checks and we're going to have to lay people off. We're going to lay you off. But they knew that because they were texting me on vacation. But they kept saying, you're fine. And the bitches had me get my box, take my box, and walk me out. And I felt like I was a criminal because, you know what I mean? They're like, they're like, you got to leave now. Yeah, like, fuck. Bitch. And I got dropped off that day. Let's be clear.
Oh, shit. They're like, you need a bus pass on the way out.
And I was like, what? I just came back from vacation. I done spent, you know what I mean? Had my little box with my plant, and they're like, you got to leave now. What? And so the friend took me to Starbucks around the corner. I had to wait for my ride. And that shit hurt to the core. You know what I mean? On so many levels.
So what stands out to that, and I'm gonna let you finish. My hair sound like Kanye's ass.
Right.
Is that if you walked in there and everybody was silent, that means somebody ran their mouth and everybody fucking
knew.
Everybody knew.
Everybody knew for me.
That is so
That's
grimy.
why I didn't sit. And then the person I felt like that was my friend, I was like, you could have, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it's
The
not like
heads
I
up.
was about to go crazy in a workplace, but if you're my friend, because she didn't look at me the whole time.
That's
Yeah, because
fucked
she
up.
knew.
She knew.
She
It was
knew.
very, very
That's so
clear.
fucked
You know what I
up.
mean? And that shit ate me up because they knew and they kept just lying. No, you're right. You know, and then having to walk out right then, you can't even finish your shit. Like, you got to leave. You
Oh,
know what
yeah.
I mean?
I do that to people.
And then
I'm
I was
sorry.
thinking, like, you should have just called me at home, bitch. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, how to,
Right.
you know, that kind of thing. But what it taught me, though, is that I am resilient because that company, where are you now? You know what I mean? And I hate to say that, but I am the
Yeah, I mean,
I am the owner of my company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the way that I handle people, if I do got to let them go, is respect and tact still. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so, hello.
hi. Guess what, guys? You fucked around and found out.
You
fucked
did.
around and
Fuck
found
around
out.
and fuck
Let's
around.
fuck around and find out.
Fucked around and found out.
Thank you. And so again, that's it. And here I am in my glory.
I think that's the best resilient story ever.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so
Wait.
so.
Okay. Just one little last thing to that, though.
Of course.
Because the owner, I remember seeing this person at a fair, you know, like for the community.
Oh,
and my agency was there.
Stop.
Yeah. And the person act like they didn't remember.
Oh my! Wait, they didn't remember doing that, or they didn't remember you.
Both.
This bitch.
Yeah.
This bitch.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you serious?
Yeah. But, you know, in the end, the company, you know, messed itself up and I wasn't meant to be there anyway. So I just want to end on the note that everything that looked like it wasn't in my favor always turned out in my favor.
Okay. Nice.
I'm gonna say this on Shamika's behalf for Shamika, because I love Shamika, but nobody is gonna treat her like she's a side bitch.
Thank
ever.
you. Thank you. Thank
Ever.
you.
You're
Put some
welcome.
respect on my name.
I always do. She will
I'm
never
a main
be.
bitch.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Nobody is going to
Yes.
be talking to her like she's a side
Absolutely.
bitch. No.
That's right.
What you got, Mark?
So I guess, you know, for me, I would say my best and my worst are actually the same incident.
Okay.
So before I went into private practice, I was working in community mental health, and there was one person at the agency that was doing everything they could to undermine me. And I was running the co-occurring program at that place. And there were some unfortunate events because certain people, the state or the housing portion of the program had the people providing the housing sold the company. And so the state was trying to find people, and there was this transition period that I was trying to manage. And this person was really trying to undermine me because they didn't like me, based not on anything I did, but based on who one of my clinical supervisors was that they didn't like.
Okay.
So, and it got pretty bad. It was stressing me out because I was trying to balance keeping this program up and running, doing what was best for the agency, doing my job, and then I was dealing with this shit. And the worst part of that came when I had gone to the person who was in charge, and I was like, listen, this shit keeps continuing. I've tried to address it with the person. They keep like sabotaging me in management meetings because they had meetings with 3 other people that had nothing to do with the department, and I would be every Wednesday when we had management meeting, I would be hammered with questions that they had concocted the night before, the morning before. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with you. You know, focus on your shit. And so it was stressing me out. And so because of that, I was in a bad place. You know, I was stressed. I was not focused on work. I wasn't sleeping, you know. And so I'd gone and I'd said, listen, you know, I told the person in charge, you know, that was the executive director. I'm like, listen, this is continuing. You got to do something about this. And they looked me in the eye and they go, well, you're part of the problem.
Dang.
And I'm like,
the fuck?
the fuck you say?
Can you say that into my good ear?
You know, and at that point, I'm like, okay, so it's clear I have no support.
Oh, yes.
And so at that point, I had to make decisions. And it just so happened my grandmother died, like in that time. And I had to fly out to the East Coast for the funeral and all that stuff. And in the meantime, they knew I was at a funeral. I was still getting like text messages and phone calls going, hey, what's going on with this? I'm like,
wow,
I'm at a funeral.
Right.
You know, like, well, we might have to lay people off. And I flat out told them, I'm like, well, then just lay me off. Leave the staff intact. Let them do what they're doing. Just lay me off. It's better. But that was a point where I decided I'm going to go into private practice. I'm done with this.
Look at that.
And so that's where it's also the best because that pushed me in this direction.
Yeah. What a way to like write your own story about that though. You know what I mean? Like for them, you guys both had similar situations with them calling you guys on, leave. I'll just leave it, you know, ambiguous. And then with the same shit.
Absolutely.
But what was that? What did that feel like to be able to sit there and tell them like,
well, so here's what I did.
Drop me, bitch.
You should have slapped him.
So they didn't lay anyone off, which is the really shitty part about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good that nobody lost their job, but this was all just harassment at the end of the day.
Oh, I see.
So I went back. I'm like, fuck it. I'm going into private practice. And so the week I got back, I slowly started moving stuff out of my office. I had already started putting the wheels in motion to go into private practice anyway, but I wasn't necessarily going to do that full time. I was going to do that as a supplement.
Okay.
So the wheels, like the business license, all that stuff had already been put in motion. And so I'm like, fuck it. So I prepared my resignation letter, but I had started like slowly moving stuff out of my office. I was going to give them a month before I left.
Very appropriate. I like that.
But they made it very clear it was only going to be 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I prepared my clients for it. I slowly started moving stuff out of the office and all that stuff. And the best part of that was the last day because the people at the front were like, can you do an assessment? I'm like, no, bitch. I'm going home.
I really thought he was going to say like
home.
They had a cake for him, some cupcakes.
No.
Some fucking
Not at all.
because the person that was sabotaging things was still there. After I left, 6 months after I left, they had gotten fired because the people that they were working with to undermine me, she pissed them off and they turned on her.
Not the
universe worked it out, huh?
Not the lynch mob turned on that bitch.
What a shock.
Take us out, Casey.
Well, let's do some final thoughts. I like that we do that.
So I want to give a shout out to one of our fans who's been listening since the first episode.
The one? What?
To one.
Okay.
One of them.
Oh, one of them. Okay.
Shout out to Daphne.
Okay.
She's
Daphne.
Hey, Daphne.
She has fired back some awesome feedback with every episode that we've done with both of them and has been one of the first people to do so.
Respect.
Thank you, Daphne. Thank you.
Also to Scott Vera at Level 9 Studios for making us sound good.
Holla, holla, holla. Scott.
What
do you got? Any final thoughts?
Yes. And so that's like after dark. I'm sorry. Just remembering
Close the door.
what Mark said. You have choices, right? And so you don't have to stay anywhere that you don't feel respected.
Mm-hmm.
And then also piggybacking on what you said, we're cool until we're not cool. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But then also understand from what I said of that things that look like that's not in your favor is your elevation to the next thing.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. I love that.
Agreed.
First, I want to apologize for this podcast because I feel like I was very out of pocket.
No way.
No,
you were
give me
awesome.
the mic.
More so.
Absolutely not.
You were on fire.
But I want to say, as far as like respect in the workplace and saying my name, do not. There's a difference between learning. You know what I mean? And learning how to get to certain things and then just blatant disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if people are able to learn the difference between somebody that's trying to give you constructive feedback and not attacking you,
Mm-hmm.
the difference between that to on the other side, somebody completely attacking you, which sometimes it looks the same to some people. Being very aware of that and not allowing anybody to disrespect you or to downplay what your skill set is. Stand on your own 2 feet and let them know who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
And where you come from, and that you got this. So
yeah, I've got one final thought. So with this, I think it's very important that everybody keep in mind, be kind. But if you can't be kind, be professional.
Holy shit. Do you want to know what my shirt says right now?
What?
This will be the last note.
Don't fuck with me.
Right. I'm like, she flashed her dick.
That's for another show.
Kindness is pretty gangsta.
Nice.
Gangsta. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Can you let them know how to find us again, just in case?
So you can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and several other places where you find podcasts. We're hoping to be up on Apple pretty soon. You can also contact us at the Professors Podcast at yahoo.com.
All right, guys. So remember, don't fuck with our money and don't fuck with our D. Peace out.